So the reason why it is so important to me is because I never had anyone in my corner. I never
Mm.
won. I never had anyone pushing Lorayne or encouraging Lorayne or seeing what Lorayne did best and speaking life into that. I had to find that on my own.
Mm.
I had to discover that on my own and push myself.
Everything is possible, just hustle, just hustle.
The $1,000,000 Hustle Podcast, where we keep it real, unstated entrepreneurship wisdom. Learn to think like a millionaire and hustle like you're broke. Here's your host, Billy the Kid, aka Billionaire.
Everything is possible, just hustle, just hustle. Everything is possible, just hustle.
Welcome to the $1,000,000 Hustle Podcast, baby, where you're gonna learn to think like a millionaire. I don't think you guys hear me when I say that. You, my friend, are going to learn how to think like a millionaire and hustle like you're broke. So $1,000,000 Hustle, again, you're learning how to think like a millionaire, which means that we are interviewing real-time millionaires or people that are on their way to their $1,000,000 mark. And you are able to listen to how they think and the habits that they have. And that's what my book is going to be about, guys. Like, I don't think you guys clearly understand how big this is. So thank you. I want to thank you for being here. So it's so funny because I've had so many people ask me about the Apple Podcast. Some people were getting it, some weren't, but that's fixed now. So if you are in Apple Podcasts, please make sure you guys leave me a review. Drop some 5 stars if and only if you like what you hear when it comes to the show. And also, I want you guys to leave me a comment. Let me know what you guys think. Also, give me feedback, guys. Same with YouTube. If you listen to Google Podcasts, if you're listening to Spotify, I have a lot of people that tell me they listen to what we got going on for the $1,000,000 Hustle in Spotify. So wherever you're at listening, please, please, please leave me a review, leave me a comment. And honestly, guys, anything that you guys hear, see that we could do better, let me know. That's the only way that I can get better podcasting, and just that's the community I want to have. So if you hear anything, please let me know. Also, don't forget our reviews on YouTube. Hit the like, subscribe, do all that. That's how we're going to get this podcast to the next level. Guys, let's get this podcast to top 10, man. Why not? You feel me? Why not? I've had so much great feedback from people. It's been a blessing. So, again, thank you. Let's take this to the next level together, guys. Otherwise, today I had such an amazing interview. I cannot wait to dig into this. Again, if you want to hear some uncomfortable conversations, you need to listen to the $1,000,000 Hustle podcast. It is the mindset. And today, guys, wow. Just wait till we get there. But in the meantime, those of you who are interested, guys, hit me up, info@billythekid.com. with your story for us to consider you joining the Get Uncomfortable family, the Get Uncomfortable Mastermind. We meet every Thursday, guys. We meet every single Thursday through Zoom, so you don't have to leave your house or anything. And we also have a Facebook group. We have a group chat, texting, where we text literally all day. There's nothing but fire. Any questions you guys have, we're able to help you, whether it's with your business, mentally. I promise you. And if you haven't yet, go check out the testimonials for some of the guys that are in the mastermind that have provided a testimonial. I mean, we have been left and right, nothing but success, guys. So, and it's literally a blessing to say that. Shout out to all the guys. Other than that, guys, again, I just want to thank you guys locally. Those of you who are listening locally, I am ready to take on a few more projects. So if you have anything for real estate, please let me know. Also, if you are looking for somebody to lend you some private money for your next real estate deal, please get with me. And construction. If you guys know anybody looking, New Era Construction, LLC.net. And we'll take care of you. Otherwise, grab a copy of my book, The Power of Being Uncomfortable. It is out everywhere. If you haven't listened to the audio version, guys, it's on Audible. It's everywhere audiobooks are available. So check that out. A lot of people tell me that you need to do both, which I totally agree because I do that myself with books in general. But if you haven't listened to the audio version, please do. It takes it to this next level. There's some surprises in there that I'm not going to talk about. I'm going to have you check them out. But with that being said, guys, today I have Lorayne Michaels coming in, and wow, just wow. You want to talk about a good marriage, you want to talk about women in general, and this is the thing. I'm here to empower women as well. I want to empower women. I want to empower women to be better in every area that requires you to be a woman, a better mother, a better wife, whether it's the hustle, the working, right? Like entrepreneurship, investing, all that. That's what I want to do. And today, guys, was just the definition of that. You know, it's so funny. I always talk about I'm always surrounded by women, I've been surrounded by women pretty much all my life. My single mom, my wife, my 2 daughters, and then now, I have sisters. So, I mean, it's just crazy. But, you know, one thing, man, they teach you how to love. Women teach you how to love. And there were so many gems today that you know what? Let's just get into the podcast. Here is the women coach herself, Lorayne Michaels. Vamonos. Welcome to the $1 Million Hustle, baby. It is your boy, Billy the Kid, a.k.a. BDK. Super excited today because I'm big on pushing women. Matter of fact, I have 2 daughters. I have my wife. I have my single mom. I have 3 sisters, and I can go on. So you get the picture here. How are you doing? I'm super excited. Thank you for being here.
Yes, thank you. Thank you for having me. I'm doing amazing. It's Wednesday and we just got back from the conference, and I am still so on fire from it. It was amazing. So I'm
Seriously.
doing great. I'm
I
fired
agree.
up.
Yes, let's go. I'm excited to have you. And again, we had a little schedule mix up, but it happens. We're here. If we could take it back, the first question that I like to ask is so that way our listeners can know, where are you from? Let's start with that. Where are you from? What city, or where were you born, etc.?
All right. I am a Cali girl, born and raised my whole life in California. And it wasn't until last year that I moved out to the Carolinas. And so now I am in South Carolina, but northern, way northern. So it's a suburb of Charlotte. So I get the pleasure of being in both North Carolina and South Carolina.
You know, I've been there a couple times, and I swear it's been like the airport. I don't think I'm pretty sure it has it. I've heard the beaches are super pretty out there. Is that right?
It's different. I'll tell you that. It's not like California. It's not. I was used to the California beaches, and they are I get they're really pretty, but they're commercialized, I guess. So like in California, you know, you think of Venice Beach and everybody walking around in their bikinis and just real pretty. But out here, it's not so blue. We haven't been to a real pretty beach yet. But it's different. I'm not going to say it's better or worse, but it's different.
Yeah.
So.
Awesome. And if we can go on, so let them know, if you could let us know, what do you do for a living now? And then, so from then till now, and then we'll kind of tackle the in between after.
Okay, so right now I am a women's coach. I love to help and empower women. My program is specifically for women who have been through a difficult time and who are just ready to make a change and really tap into their God-given gifts, talents, and abilities. And I am here to help them discover it, bring it out of them, and help them figure out a game plan and a blueprint plan of how to live their best life, fulfill their dreams, live their dreams, and walk with purpose.
Walk with purpose. I love that. I so yeah, I'm excited to dig into that world for sure. One of our segments in our show we have is book of the week. And if you could give me one book that has touched your heart, that has changed your life, and it could be something from way back, maybe the first book you read, or even just something recently. What is one book that just changed your life?
Oh man, that is such a tough question for a development coach. You know what I mean? Because I'm
I
always
agree.
in those. Oh my goodness, that's a tough question. So I'm gonna have to go with two. I can't just pick one.
Love it.
So the first one, from the top of my head, and also because we got it as a gift, was Ed Milet's book, The Power of One More. That changed my perspective in the way of stop living small. And it helped put into perspective literally that the power of one more. Because as an entrepreneur, as a businesswoman, I mean, anyone really, you're faced with adversity. You get hit, especially when you have a goal and you have somewhere where you want to go, you get hit nonstop and you have to have resilience. So that book, The Power of One More, that changed my life. It helped shift my perspective. The second one would be John Maxwell's book. It's called The 15 Laws of Invaluable Growth. That one is amazing. I actually use it in my program because it is so invaluable, right? It gives you principles and actions to do and take to help you with your mindset, to help you with your purpose. So those two were game changers for me, definitely.
Wow, those are heavy hitters, and you could tell
Yeah.
you had to think on those because I'm a book geek myself, so it's a tough question, and that's why I love it, and that's why I like starting it from the beginning with the show. 15 Laws of Invaluable Growth. Maxwell is he's a master, and actually, you are certified through his program, right?
I am. Yes, I am.
How did that come about?
So I had before before I got into the self-development and coaching, I always read his books and I loved his just his values. His values were in line with my values. So it was very relatable and it helped me with my leadership in my previous career. Um, so how I got certified, how I found that was I went to one of his conferences, the IMC conference last year. So it would have been August of 22. And there was the opportunity to get enroll in the program. There's different programs that they offer, and that's what I decided to do. And so I got my certification.
That is so awesome. Yeah, as soon as I seen that on your card, I was like, "Ooh, let's go!" I love that,
Yeah.
and so now that we've kind of covered that, and by the way, Power of One More is such a great book. I remember I heard Ed Milet speak like 2 weeks before he released the book, and so hearing it on stage just I mean, if you weren't shedding a tear in that in
Mm.
that moment,
Yeah.
it was amazing, and just it is so true, guys. We only have one life to live, so enjoy it because it is short. You never know when that last hug that you gave somebody is just
Yeah.
amazing the way he puts it, and it goes beyond just living in the moment. The whole point is keep trying, right? Keep doing it. So I love that.
Yeah.
Great books, man. Fired up already.
Yeah. It was good.
And now that we know your story from the beginning to the end, so let's dissect in the middle. So when was that like when would you say the seed of of what you do now, when do you think that was planted? Was it when you were young? Was it like towards the end of where you're at now? Like when was that planted?
So that's a very interesting question. Because I just wrote about this for
Mm.
a TED Talk.
Oh, wow,
It's
nice.
it's going to be part of my TED Talk. Um, I didn't realize that the seed was planted as a child. You hear stories of like doctors or singers, or when little Johnny was a little boy, he used to love dissecting things, and he loved the anatomy or whatever. Or little Susie, she was always on stage singing, and we knew she was going to be a singer. Those kind of things, right? And so as I was going through my adult life and trying to figure out what career I was going to take, I would ask myself that, like, what did I do? What did I play as a kid? What was this, what I really was supposed to be? And I can never put my finger on it. And it wasn't until recently when I started really digging into it and looking at it through the lens of God, basically, through faith, and not a worldly lens of, how people would just look at it black and white. So when I was a kid, I used to perform. My grandma was a dancer, and I would love to perform and really captivate people. And I really wanted people to have a good time. And so what I found that correlated with it is I wasn't afraid of being in front of people, and I wasn't afraid of captivating people's attention. And so that kind of led me to where I am today in the fact of, it was preparing me, to speak. It was preparing me to be on stages. It was preparing me for all these things. But I didn't really realize it until I would say 2018, 19, and 20 was the kicker. I kind of dabbled into the fitness industry, and that kind of touched on the coaching aspect of it, right? But I didn't want to focus on fitness, because that's a whole nother story that kind of derailed me for a while. That turned into unhealthy stuff for me. But anyways,
Oh, wow.
So that kind of dabbled into the coaching aspect of it. And then I got to the development aspect of it. That's when the John Maxwell stuff started really coming into play, and my leadership skills started developing. And I started posting videos on that of like positive stuff and uplifting stuff, and trying to get people, to realize their potential. And I just kept forward in my career in medicine. That's where I was. And then 2019 happened, where, my marriage fell apart, and I really started honing in on the value of life, and that we only have one life. And am I really fulfilled in my career? And the answer was no. And that's when I really started pushing into, well, what is it? What is my passion? And then 2020 happened, and the whole world got shook. And that's when I was like, I am done with medicine. Medicine is not in alignment with me or my values anymore. And I need to push into people. And my calling is to speak to people, to speak life into people, to encourage people to find their purpose and their God-given talent. So that was kind of a long-winded answer to your question.
And that gives me a lot of questions that I want to ask you in just different areas. Okay. It's so crazy. One thing you mentioned was that you always want other people to have a good time. And me and my daughter, actually, we did a podcast the other day of just leadership in general. And one thing that we talked about was we are people's people. And sometimes that gets like a negative from just society in general. Oh, don't care about others, right? Like, worry about yourself. There's that side of things. And then there's obviously the other side where it's like, well, but at the end, when you're a leader, you're leading people. It's not just animals, right? Like, or anything else. So I think it's super important to care for people. And so let me ask you this. Why do you want the best out of people? And why do you care for others and not yourself?
Oh, okay. I'm going to try not to get emotional with this one.
And let me clarify, Lorayne, that so I wrote The Power of Being Uncomfortable is the name of my book. And the whole point of this is I love to have uncomfortable conversations. That's kind of like the mindset behind the $1 Million Hustle. So I really appreciate it, and I could feel your presence right now. I love it. So
Yeah.
speak your game, girl. Let's go.
No, I'm going to be super transparent with you. So the reason why it is so important to me is because I never had anyone in my corner. I never had anyone pushing Lorayne or encouraging Lorayne or seeing what Lorayne did best and speaking life into that. I had to find that on my own. I had to discover that on my own and push myself. I had to find the Ed Milet's, the Ken Joslin's, the John Maxwell's. I had to find those people and use their words and their encouragement, right? And so many times in my life, God has placed people in my path that had such tremendous gifts and talents, and no one was speaking life into that. And I hated seeing that. I hated seeing their talent go to waste. One person I remember specifically in high school, his name was Jeff Beltram, and he was the sweetest young man. And he was kind of a nerd, and he was longing for acceptance. And he was a good kid, but he kept going down the wrong path. And I'll never forget, he got jumped, he got his jaw broken. And I'll never forget one night when I was hanging out with him, and I'm like, why are you doing this? Why are you going down this road? And he's like, I have no other choice, Lorayne. I don't know what else to do. I don't have money. My parents aren't, there for me. Like, no one's going to help me. No one's going to get me to where I want to go. This is the life that I have to live. And it turned into, selling drugs and becoming a tattoo artist and hanging out with the wrong people. And nothing's wrong with being a tattoo artist. I have plenty of tattoo artist friends. But it was his thought process that I have to do this. I have to go down this path. I want to be accepted by someone. So I'm going to get accepted by this, and it led to a life of destruction, and it broke my heart. It absolutely tore me apart. So like from then on, I swore to myself that I would never let anyone that came into my life, cross my path, not know their value, not know their worth, not know what they were capable of.
Wow. So. That is amazing. And there was a few moments that I got chills a couple times, probably more than two, but two that came to my head. I was that kid, right, that you were speaking of. And I remember in high school having this. So if I was 15 years old or whatever, 16, I remember this 22-year-old that literally had the same past as me as far as like knucklehead. And he was a student teacher in my high school, and he ran like the clubs that I joined. And to this day, we're still friends. Like, we literally hung out a week ago. And it's people like that you need in your corner. So that leads me to the next thing. I could not help but relate to what you were saying, that nobody was on your corner. And that is amazing. I've never heard it in that perspective. Because even right now I run a mastermind, Lorayne, and all the guys in there, I literally, one of the things that I always remind them is, hey guys, like, I didn't have this group of 10 people, right? Like, that we're cheering for you guys. Like, you guys literally send a text to the group and, hey, here's what we think, or we ask you questions, right? Like, why, right? And literally the 10 plus years of my journey, I would say 6, 7 of them. I love that you said Ed Milet was like on your corner. John Maxwell, like, that's literally how I felt. Which, you know what, Lorayne, we were in good company, girl. You know that.
Yeah.
But
right.
it's a lonely road. It really is, and especially when you're trying to do something massive that society doesn't see, right? Like, they don't understand. So wow, that was powerful. Yo, we'll be right back to this great episode of the $1 Million Hustle podcast. Before we continue, I want you to go grab a copy of my book, The Power of Being Uncomfortable. It is out on Amazon. It is out on Barnes & Noble, Walmart.com, Target.com, and everywhere else books are available. The great news, guys, is you could go to BillyTheKid.com and grab an autographed copy. That is right. I'm going to mail you an autographed copy right now. Audiobook is also available on Audible, and everywhere else audiobooks are available. So go listen to it. Go grab yourself an autographed copy, and I'll see you on the other side, baby. And now back to this great episode of the $1 Million Hustle Podcast. You also mentioned about helping people realize their potential. I want to ask you this. How does one realize their potential?
Oh, God. I mean, your identity is in Christ. I'm a woman of faith, and I wouldn't be where I am if it wasn't for my faith. And no one's really going to know their true potential, their true value. I mean, unless if they have faith, and unless if they have that, you know what I'm saying? Like, God tells you who you are. You're a beautiful son or daughter of a king. That's your potential. You have the potential to change the world. I mean, God literally gave every single person an individual gift that is to propel the world into greatness. And it's just a matter
Wow.
of finding that and tapping into that and realizing that you can do it. So how do you find it? You find your value in your faith, and then you start finding those like-minded people, the people that build you up and bring life to you, and finding those books that give you the tools and really educate yourself on how to do it.
Yeah, no, so true. And it's so funny. The faith, I mean, you can't really have anything without it. And it's so funny. I almost admit it, like, yeah, I do press it on people. I do. You know how you technically probably shouldn't, right? Like there's this line, but a lot of my coaching is faith-based. And so yeah, wow, that's amazing. You mentioned that during your fitness journey, there was some negatives that happen there, and I think it's important for people listening that we all go through that. Like I'm the worst person you could meet as far as like stuff that I've gone through, right? Like we've all have gone through things. And so what made it such a bad area in your life if it's fitness? And that was kind of my question. I'm like, wow, it's fitness, like how can it be negative? So if you could touch on that.
Sure. Where everyone has a past. Let's just start there. So I definitely have a past as well, and I went down the wrong road for a while. So with fitness, I fell into that because I was in a marriage that was struggling, and I didn't know how to fix it. I didn't know how to change it. I didn't know how to help it. We were young and immature, and I fell into fitness because I wanted to change my appearance because I felt like my husband wasn't attracted to me. So I got into it trying to change the way that I look in order to get my husband's approval. And that backfired tremendously. And we ended up divorced. That was my fault. And so I fell even deeper into this fitness because I was good at it and I had control. I didn't have control over my marriage, and I lost my marriage. But I could control this. I can control how my body looked. I could control what I ate. I can control the situation, or so I thought. And my training turned into competing. And so I competed in the fitness industry for several years. And that became unhealthy, and I developed a body image dysmorphia. And I developed a very bad relationship with food. And I looked good on the outside. I looked phenomenal. But my mind was a wreck. I didn't think I looked good. I mean, I was competing, I was doing fitness modeling, I was doing a little bit of coaching, But my mind was a wreck and I hated myself and I never thought that I looked good enough.
Mm,
And every time I went to the gym, I was looking at other people and comparing myself, and it just was awful. And
wow.
what ended up happening was is I stopped working out completely. And I was like, I can't do this. I can't be there. It's not my outlet anymore. It went from, a healthy habit to an obsession to an unhealthy habit, an unhealthy relationship with myself, food. And so I just was like, I'm done. And I stepped away for a while and started running. And it wasn't until, I don't know, maybe a year, 2 years, and then I got back into it because I was needing that release. And I had to fix my mindset. I had to get healthy mentally and figure out, okay, Lorraine, we can do this. We can use this for
How
what it is. How what?
how did you fix that mindset? What were some of the
Counseling.
steps you took? Okay.
Yeah, I had to go through therapy to figure out, why was I using what was a good tool as a bad tool? How did I turn that into a bad
Mm,
tool? Well, it
wow.
was because of my mental health. And so I had to fix that. I had to work through the pain. I had to work through the guilt that I had for losing my first marriage. And I had to do a lot of healing within Lorraine mentally. And that was through therapy and counseling. And then I was able to utilize that tool again as for what it was for. And now it's amazing and I absolutely love it. I love
Yeah,
working
wow.
out.
And I love that. Like that's so crazy. And there's so many things I can think of too that where something, because I think every habit can be a bad habit, right? Like even for example, using your phone, it's like it's a tool. You could drain in social media and scroll through it, or you can make $1 million out of that phone. And literally, those
Yeah.
are the two choices. So I love that story, Lorraine. I couldn't help but think, if you don't mind me asking, one key thing you said was, which obviously the story in general described exactly as far as like the world that you kind of fell into, but you mentioned divorce, and I feel like any women and men that are listening out there, you mentioned it was my fault, which I think that like I want to take my hat off, like just to literally salute you for that. Like it takes a lot to say that, and that just
Mm,
shows that you are in a way better place in life. Why was it your fault, and how does someone going through that now, or in the past that have gone through it, how is that like a big healing moment for somebody?
mm, yeah. So I'm currently married and this is my third. So let me tell you about how nobody's perfect. My first one, like I said, we got married young and we didn't utilize the tools that were available to us. And I messed up. And because of, I thought, like I had mentioned earlier, that my husband didn't love me, wasn't attracted to me. He had a porn addiction. There was a lot of mistrust there. Um, I cheated on him, plain and simple. And I confessed it to him and I wanted to work it out. And so when I confessed to him, I had totally repented. I mean, it was just a one-time thing. Didn't talk to the person anymore, and I wanted to work it out. And my husband couldn't get past it. And we tried, and it didn't work. And so it had to end. And that's why I say it was my fault, because ultimately, if I didn't
Yeah.
cheat on him, then we wouldn't be there. And then my second marriage ended, unfortunately, because of his infidelity. And I want to preface, I mean, that it was also an unhealthy, abusive relationship, and I played my part in that as well. I'm not claiming, to be a victim there. But with the second one, um, you know, I I stayed after he cheated on me with his ex-wife, which was his baby's mom. So that was difficult. That wasn't something that, he did once and the person's gone, never in our life again. No,
Yeah.
she would have been in our life for the rest of our life. So that would have been really difficult. Not to say it couldn't have worked, but anyways, I gave him the grace and forgiveness that I didn't get in my first marriage. So that was a huge thing for me. Um, I wanted to make sure that I tried because I absolutely loved him. He was my best friend. I still love him to this day, and I wish nothing but the best for him. But again, for whatever reason, it didn't work. And then here I am now, married, happily married, and we have a healthy relationship, a God-honoring relationship, and we're both sober. You know, we only know each other in a sober state, and so it's great.
Wow. Wow. Thank you. And I love how vulnerable you are, Lorayne. And I think that's it's so big in the industry that we're in, and just in general. Like, can you imagine if everybody was like this, where it's like, hey, this is my story, and we can't change anything, but we can work on ourselves
Yeah,
for the future, right? Like, just imagine a
yeah,
society like that. Wow. Um,
yeah.
you mentioned there were some tools that you didn't utilize on your first marriage. What were those tools for somebody that's listening out there that maybe is going through something like that now? What are some of the tools that you would recommend, or just a mindset that now knowing what you know?
So in specifically with marriage, I think the tool of community for one, and um, this world right now that we live in is very much self-gratification and do what makes you happy. And if it doesn't work, leave it. Like it's a very it's just such a selfish society now. And if it doesn't work, just throw it out instead of fix it, get a new one. And so I think if we would have focused on the other rather than ourself, like my needs aren't being met, you don't love me, you're not fulfilling me, but more of a servant's attitude, a servant mentality of how can I serve you? How can I love you? What can I do to be, how can I be a better wife rather than you're not doing this right type of attitude.
Wow.
And so those tools of I mean, they were given to us. We went through premarital counseling. It just kind of all went out the window for whatever reason. I don't know. I don't know why we didn't, communicate the way we should have been. And like I said, like we were immature, and now knowing, like having gone through a couple marriage studies, and communication is huge, and talking about your feelings, like when you say this, I feel this, and I had an expectation of doing this, but it didn't happen. Well, why didn't it happen? Well, because I didn't talk about it. I didn't say it. So I think I know this isn't a marriage podcast, but a lot of,
No, and speak your game. Like I said, this is these are the stuff, guys, that like you have to work on it if you want to get to that $1 million financial state. Like, you can't get there unless you fix all these things. So please, Lorayne, you're like
yeah,
on fire right
yeah.
now. So let's go.
That's true. Like what you just said, you can't reach this potential, this $1 million state if you have bad relationships.
Mm,
And your marriage, if you're married, is the most important relationship you have. You can't pursue your dream and your goal if your relationship is crap at home, because that's your biggest supporter, that's your biggest cheerleader. And if you don't have the support of your spouse, that's going to make it so much more difficult. And how are you going to encourage and help other people when you don't even work on your marriage? Like, make
mm,
that good, make your home life good. Where's the fruit? Before
wow.
you start changing other people's lives, where's the fruit in your life? How are
Mm,
your relationships? You know?
wow.
So
Wow. No, yeah. I'm all getting all like, wow. You mentioned so many gems there. You know what? We should charge for this podcast, Lorayne. Jeez. So many gems. Like, you're on fire, and it's so true. Fix this first before you can get to that. I feel like so many people they look at you like, oh, Lorraine's doing all these things, and it's like, if you only knew the work that Lorraine had to do
No,
internally, right? Like,
my
and of course
goodness.
the the external shows as this star, right? And that's what I love about you being vulnerable, because I'm the same, Lorraine. I mean, I don't care. I'll speak my game, and it's like, hey, this is what made me. You know, you could like me or
Yeah.
not, but at the
Yeah.
end, you're being authentic, and that's what I love.
Yeah. Yeah.
Those of you who are listening, I mean, this is life changing. All the stuff that Lorraine has covered so far is literally life changing. Marriage, I mean, just personal development, all these. Wow, I'm amazed, and I'm so happy to be here right now, Lorraine. I appreciate your time. So I want to ask you this question, because I feel like, just like there's that marriage part, there's also, like, with me having two daughters, like, what would you say to me and people out there listening that have daughters, since you're in the women world, just to have that relationship, right? Like, and I'll be vulnerable with you. One of the things, I remember taking my daughters on a Valentine's date, right? And I feel like I
Mhm.
need to do that again. It's been a few years, honestly, and so one of
Yeah.
my goals this year is to have one-on-ones with them. And
Yeah.
guys, those of you who are listening, this is what I mean with the $1 million hustle. Is not that I was being a bad father before, but guess what? When you have this freedom, you can actually focus and laser in. I think on one of the other podcasts, I mentioned how my goal is to text or call my mom once a week. It's not that I was not doing that. For If you are judging me based on me saying that on that, it's just that I'm actually conscious of that. Now I think about
Mm.
those things. Like, you know what?
Yeah.
Let me make it a goal, right? Like, so if you could elaborate on that and just speak your game on what are some of the things that you could do.
Okay. So a couple of things came to mind. The first thing is intentionality. You recognize something that you wanted. You want a better relationship. You want a connection. You want your mom to feel heard, known, loved. You want your daughters to know who they are. So it takes intention. And at first, it starts with you have to figure out what you want, and then you have to intentionally do it. And you have to intentionally make a plan and put it to action. And so I absolutely love that you said that you took your daughters out on a date. Here's an encouragement for you. Don't just do it on Valentine's Day.
Mm.
Do it more, do it often, schedule it once a month, once a month with each of them, your wife and your daughters. I think that's beautiful. And another thing that I absolutely love, that from the conference, Dr. Rob said it, and Ed Milet, but in two different ways. So something that Rob was saying was that um, being intentional of telling people what they mean to you.
Mm.
Sometimes we're like, oh, they know I love them. They know this. They know they're great. It doesn't matter. We love to hear it. We have to hear it. You have to speak life into people. Um, oh, another thing that I heard, this it kind of goes in line with about speaking life. So this class did an experiment. I heard this on the Jasmine Star podcast. And she's amazing. If you don't follow her, follow her. So anyways, this class did an experiment with three flowers, and two of them were planted in soil, and one of them was planted in cement. And one of them, they came in every morning and said good things and positive things, and you're so beautiful, and you have green leaves, and you're going to grow and be strong and bright. And they spoke life into this plant. And then another one that was growing in the soil, they were saying, you're ugly, you're brown, your leaves are upside down, you're not going to be big, you're going to be small. And they just were speaking anger and mean and hateful things, and it just was negativity. And then the plant, they in this cement, they didn't do anything to, they just watered it, nurtured it, didn't talk to it. And sure enough, the plant that was in the cement kind of did its thing, shot up, bloomed, did its thing. But that was it. There was nothing to it. The one that they spoke positive to was beautiful, was everything they said. It was taller than the rest. It was green. It was bright. It was gorgeous. And then the one that they spoke negative about was ugly and awful. And the leaves were upside down and it was brown and dull and it was awful. So that, and I swear to you, this was an experiment that they did. And
Wow.
it just goes to show you like the power of your words
Mm.
and what that can do. I mean, we're talking a plant. This isn't even a human. You know what I mean? And if
Yeah.
our words can do that, imagine what it does to a soul. Imagine what it does to a person. And, and the other thing that goes in line with that was how Ed says with his family, let me tell you about you. And I thought that was incredible. And it had me in tears. I absolutely loved it. And since I've been home, I've been doing it. Sending voice messages to my friends. I even sent one to Ken. That is like the epitome. That is the core of me of speaking life into
Yeah.
people. And
Wow.
so my encouragement for, the people with children, the men with daughters, especially the men with daughters, is to speak life into those girls and to love them so fiercely that they know that they are loved, that they're not going to go out and search for the validation and try and find a man,
Mm.
to make them feel a certain way. If you build your babies so firmly rooted in Christ and so confident in themselves, not in an egotistical way, but just knowing who they are and how God created them, then they're going to be set for success. They're not going to fall into the traps of, improper relationships that devalue them because they're looking for validation,
Mm. Wow.
That's
No, that's fire right there. Wow. In so many different ways, Lorraine. And I literally couldn't think, like, it made me think of even just myself, right? Like, just thinking of one thing I've said it over and over, guys, is 10 years ago, I didn't make it, right? Quote unquote. I didn't get as far because of the people I had around me talking like
mm,
that flower, right? There were so many people,
mm,
and I'm sure you can relate to that, where there's so many people talking to you that way, whether it was being funny, right? Like, oh, I'm just joking around. And it's like, no, but
mm.
imagine if we didn't do that. Imagine if even friends now from then, I've had conversations with some of my friends now where it's like, hey, imagine how far we can go if we all spoke to each other that way, right? Like, and
Yeah,
so I think anybody listening, be mindful of the people around you, because that gets in your brain, whether you want it or not. You're
yeah.
hearing it and it gets in your brain. So I love that. Thank you for sharing that. That was awesome.
We'll be right
Before
back.
we continue,
Go subscribe to Billy the Kid YouTube.
that is Billy, DHAKID.
Also, go follow Billy the Kid Music on Spotify
Pandora, Apple Music.
and everywhere else.
Music is available.
And now, back to this great episode. Let's go.
Hopping out the two, nowhere number 2 foul. Feel like Kobe, though I'm winning, need to do more. My mama sorry, college wasn't for me. Street smart, no degree, just like Kobe. Self-made boss with a suit like a mogul. I'm the new era, you see it on my logo.
As much as I hate to wrap things up, Lorraine, I know you got stuff to do, but we have the last segment of our show. And again, I wrote the power being uncomfortable, which the question that I have for you is, what is one way that comes to your head right away where you got uncomfortable and it paid off?
Just in life,
Yeah, in general.
one way that I got uncomfortable and it paid off. Making an investment in me. So, realizing that God put a dream in me, a passion in me, and not letting that go to waste and investing in me, meaning buying the coaching, buying, the certification, investing in you. John always talks about the investment he made. Everyone talks about the investment they made, whether it's they bought the Tony Robbins tapes or the coaching program, but investing in me made me super uncomfortable. Dropping thousands of dollars in me, in a hope, in a dream, you know what I mean? But taking that step of faith of, look, I'm following, it's not in vain. I'm not doing it to be a millionaire. I'm doing it to help other people. And I think that's the scary part, is when you're really doing it from an open heart and a heart of, I want to give this to people, because the world tells us, it's about you. Look out for you, do you. But that's not my heart. My heart is, what can I do for you? And I'm dumping out thousands of dollars in hopes that it's going to take and it's going to catch, and I'm going to be able to help thousands of people.
Wow. Love that. And the more you do what you love, Lorayne, the more money comes, which I think that's it's a great equation. So I love that. It's so true. I stand by that. I believe it. It's like a bird, right? Like a bird that they don't worry about tomorrow to see if they're going to eat. Like, they're just freely flying and loving life. And that's what I get out of you. And I know that's truly how I feel. So I love that. And the next question that I have for you here, if there was a 3-step formula to success, and if you do these 3 things, which, again, the $1 million hustle, right? Like the idea, what are the 3 things that somebody needs to do to get to that $1 million hustle?
For success, the 3 steps for success. And
if you do these 3 things, you're not going to fail.
Oh, geez. Okay. Okay. Figure out your gifts, talents, and abilities. I mean, do what you're good at. They talked about it at the conference. If you're a 7, you're not going to attract 8, 9, 10 people. So figure out where you are and what your strengths are, and magnify your strengths. Stop focusing on your weaknesses. Focus on your strengths and make those better. So figure out, what you want, what your gifts, talents, and abilities are, magnify them, get around like-minded people, surround yourself with a community. And last but definitely not least, get your faith and stay rooted in your faith, and remember your purpose and who created you, and hold on to your faith.
Love it. Love it. And if you were to talk to your younger self, Lorayne, what would be one piece of advice, a piece of wisdom that you would tell yourself right now?
Oh, man. One piece of advice I would tell my younger self. It's going to be hard. It's going to be harder than you think or can imagine, but it is so going to be worth it. It will be worth it.
Wow. Whew. I feel that. And then last but not least, if you were to write a book right now, what would be the theme and title of that book?
Oh my gosh, that's so funny you said that. That's so funny you said that. Part of my goals, like one of my things that I've been really pushing myself, is growth goals, and making, getting uncomfortable and what's going to grow me, push me, challenge me. And one of them is to write a book. And when I wrote it, I'm like, I don't want to write a book. No part of me wants to write a book. I have no want or desire to write a book, but I know that is going to push me. I know that is a growth goal. I know if I do that, I will reach another level. So that's so funny that you said that, if I were to write a book. The name of my book. Name of my book. I have no idea. I don't know what it would be. The theme, how pushing past adversity changed my life. How my pain was not in vain.
Wow.
How
there's the title right there, Lorayne.
Right?
Love it. Lorayne. Yeah. and it even rhymes with your name too. So.
It even rhymes with my name, right?
Love it. Wow, that's amazing, Lorayne. Anything I can do to help you in that, I've made the mistakes already on book writing, so So let me know anything. I could definitely throw you some help or whatever you need. So I think that should be everybody's goal, is to put it on paper. Like what are you leaving for society, right? So I love that. And last but not least, where can people find you?
I'm on all the socials. It's my name, Lorayne Michaels. So on Instagram, it's Lorayne_Michaels. And I frequent on the TikTok as well. Sometimes I drop a little fitness stuff on there. But yeah, if you want to find me, just search my name and you'll find me.
Well, thank you, Lorayne. Once again, I want to
Thank
thank you for
you.
joining. This was amazing.
Yeah. It was awesome. It was my pleasure and honor. I appreciate it. I loved it.
Thank you. Yeah, no, I had fun and a lot of knowledge, a lot of reminders. It was truly a pleasure. Those of you who are listening, make sure you guys follow Lorayne, follow me on Instagram or wherever else you're at. Also, I started encouraging people, if you could leave me a review on Apple Podcasts. I'm kind of attacking that area. And then YouTube, I feel like most people have YouTube anyway. So if you have a YouTube, please subscribe to my channel, where I'm going to be posting all the podcasts, all the vlogs, all my music stuff, stuff about my book, just anything. So if you're listening on YouTube, please hit the like and drop us a comment. And to go even above and beyond, if you screenshot where you're listening and tag Lorayne and I, we're going to reshare it. So please tag us and follow us. We'll follow you. And we're all going to be happily ever after at the end. So with that being said, guys, I'll see you guys on the next episode. Vamonos.
And some don't like that. They hate that they see you smile. As if I haven't been hustling, it's been a while. Gotta put in the work if you wanna shine. I want it all and I'm coming for what's mine. Some call me greedy, bitch, I call it ambition. Some call me selfish, bitch, I call it motivation. Different levels of thinking and we both right. But my mindset is on growth with the future bright. Close-minded people mad at me that I'm speaking facts. Or maybe could it be that I'm getting racks? Open your mind, gotta open it to receive. I'm always 10 toes for what I believe. Close-minded people mad at me that I'm speaking facts.